Hi everyone, I've come out into the car for a little bit of P&Q, and the other reason, well, the main reason why I've come out in the car is to do a little video. Now today's video is going to be a little bit different. I did put a community post up a few weeks back where I said I was going to try and do a live Q&A. Now for one reason or another that hasn't happened, but what I'm going to do today, I'm still going to answer some of your questions that you've sent in. So let's crack it off. I've got the questions all written down on my phone and I'm just going to go through one by one. Now, although I've got them on my phone, I've not really spent a lot of time or any time thinking about the answers, so this is just going to literally be off the cuff. So we're going to start off with the first question from Dashcam Daz, and he says, why do some, in brackets, annoying people indicate right to go straight over at a roundabout? Are they taught this on their lessons? And also, do I think that driving standards have dropped in recent years? Signalling right to go straight on at a roundabout, no, it's not something that I would ever teach my pupils, and most driving instructors who are worth the salt shouldn't be teaching that either. However, it is something that I do see all the time. I put it down to what I always say on some of my educational videos, that people feel as though that they've got to signal to move the steering wheel, and that's obviously not the case. The signal right does cause problems, to be honest. People in lane 2 do think that you may be going to move across or go further around the roundabout, and it also affects people coming out of the road that you're trying to go into across the other side. So signalling right, no, it's not a good thing to do when you're going ahead at a roundabout. And do I think driving standards have got worse? Was that? Let's double check. Memory like a sieve. Yeah, do I think driving standards have dropped in recent years? Honestly, no. I think the overall standard, I think, has probably remained about the same. But what I do find is that the level of badness, or the level or extent that people do mad things, has got higher and higher and higher. So in other words, people do crazier things that honestly just seem run of the mill nowadays. So I don't honestly think driving standards have got any worse. I think that wraps up that one. Right, question 2 from Kyle. What's the most annoying and most common thing you see when you're driving daily? Easy one for me, this. It's using these mobile phones while you're in operation of these cars. Honestly, they just don't match. So that for me is my pet hate. Question number 3. Right, let's have a little look. Craziest thing I've seen someone do on the road during a lesson, and this is from another road user and not the pupil. I did have someone overtake on a double bend. I did actually put it on a driving fail as well. I can't remember which one it was. I'm going to try and dig it out and leave you a link to it. But they overtook me and my pupil. It was on a right bend and a left lane. A right bend and then a left bend. And it's a road called Aintree Lane, just after a little bridge where a set of traffic lights are, and there was an overtake and there was 2 vehicles that overtook. If I remember rightly, I think there was a car and was there a motorbike as well? I can't be certain, but it does spring to mind as being absolutely lethal. There was a junction on the right hand side as well as these 2 people overtook, and honestly, tell you what it was. There was a cyclist on the left as well. That was the thing that made it really bad. I can't be certain. We're going back a few years now. But it does stand out as the most terrifying moment, and like I said, I'll try and dig it out for you. Okay, question number 4. Should driving instructors only teach small petrol engine cars? or petrol small engine cars I should say. I've found the leap to my tiny engine petrol car quite jarring, and I wasn't anticipating doing certain things. I'd gotten used to it within a week, but it was quite difficult to recalibrate certain behaviours. No driving instructors should not teach in just one make or model of car. You're never just going to drive the same make or model car when you pass your test, so no. You should get used to different things. I remember years ago, it was the first car that I had that was a little bit out of the ordinary. And it was a Vauxhall Vectra SRI that I had, and we're talking maybe 15 years ago now. And I remember going to one of the test centres and one of the examiners asking me how I found teaching in such a big car. I said, well, to be honest, it's no different. You just get on with it and just maybe get your pupils to a little bit better standard. And he agreed. He went, yeah, I totally agree with you, Ash. You should be able to get your pupils to drive anything. But regarding the small car, what I'm suspecting is the guy who's just asked the question has probably had a bigger diesel engine, and when he's got to his smaller petrol engine car, the actual accelerator is a little bit more sensitive, and that often is the case when you jump over to smaller petrol engine cars. But just get used to listening to the sound, setting the gas before you start moving away, and you can usually suss it out quite happily and quite quickly and easily. Everyone's the same when they get into a new car. They're always a little bit ropey. Okay, next question. If I could choose any car at all, with money being no object, what would it be and why? I'm just going to hang on to this a second. Is this guy coming to mind for a delivery? No, he's not. So yeah, back to the question. If I could choose any car, what would it be? It's not something that actually is some. I don't think about stuff like that, to be honest, regarding what car do I want if money's no object. Luckily enough, over the years I've had a few nice cars. I always said years ago, if I won the lottery I'd buy a Range Rover, and we've had one of them. Will I have another one? Don't think so. Honestly, the car that my missus drives at the moment, the M3, it's a cracking thing. I love the way, to be honest, it's so brutal and so powerful. It keeps you really switched on whenever you drive it. I did have a little bit of a slide in it at Christmas time, just coming back round a bend. It was night time. It was a little bit wet, and to be honest, the back end stepped out. I wasn't even trying either. I was only doing about 20-25 miles an hour in third gear, and the back end stepped out. So you've got to treat it with the utmost respect, and for me, I don't want for anything more. Hang on a sec. Hi buddy, nice one, thank you. Sorry about that everyone. Deliveries, you've got to keep apart as well, so well done to him for chucking it at me from a big distance away. Now, so my missus is M3, to be honest, is all that I would ever want in a car. It's got that excitement factor. It's loud. It's probably too loud, to be honest. Don't often start it early in the morning because I end up waking all the neighbours up, but there's enough excitement with it and enough quality to satisfy my needs. So honestly, I don't strive for anything more. I suppose if there was one car that I'd always probably wanted, it would have been a Ferrari. I did have a picture of a 288 GTO Ferrari on my wall as a young kid. Now I'd love one of them, but I think they're about 4 million quid, so that's just dreaming. Okay, the next question. What's my toughest moment as a teacher? And that's from Cricket Frenzy. Thanks for the question. Toughest moment for a teacher is always test day, when test day doesn't go well. when the pupil fails. It's always a horrible moment. Okay, on with question number 7 from Hey14. When did I decide to become a driving instructor? It was honestly 20 years ago. I'd left a previous career. I used to play professional sports, and it's not something that I'm ever going to make a big deal of. This channel and what I'm all about now is all about driving. My previous career has got nothing to do with what I'm trying to achieve today, so I don't mention much about it. It's not me being secretive, it's just me being just honest, and the attention that you probably would get through having a career like that previously is not something that I'm aiming for. I'm aiming to be recognised and known for the good work that I do as a driving instructor. So 20 years ago I finished from playing professional football and I didn't know what to do. I do have my football coaching badges, and I decided to put my love of cars and the football coaching together, and here I am 20 years later. So that sort of goes on to you and Harvey's question as well. Question number 8, have I always been a driving instructor, and if not, what did I do before? I think I've just answered that one as well. Okay, the next question is from Simon Ryan. Do my students ever get nervous learning to drive in such a nice car? Yes, they do, to be honest. I don't think after I've finished with them, in other words, got their mindset to say it's just a car. Listen, if I was really bothered about it, I wouldn't let you drive it. I get that mindset into them straight from the off, and I think when I've finished with them and worked the magic, if you like, they realise the benefit of driving in something maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit more powerful, and it gets them ready for the real world, in my opinion, when they get their own car. So they do get a little bit nervous driving this. Next question, let's have a look. Question 10. After passing, what are your thoughts on speeding versus keeping up with the flow? It's obviously hard to condone speeding, but even on police bike safe courses, they informally said that the average speed on a motorway is closer to 80 miles an hour, and it can be better to maintain a speed constant with the traffic. Keeping up with the flow, yes, but 80 miles an hour on a motorway, no need. You've always got lorries and traffic that are travelling below 70, so anyone who thinks that they've got to do 80 to keep up with the flow, no, you haven't. Quite often on a motorway, even in my missus's car, which de-restricted to do 170 miles an hour plus, I'll stick it at 70 on the motorway with a cruise control and just trundle. I find it much more relaxing. The extra time that it saves getting to different places when you're driving faster, for me, doesn't and hasn't ever, since I've been a driving instructor, warranted the extra stress of sort of like battling to try and get past people. It's just a different mindset that I have nowadays. So the police may very well say that on bike safe courses, because the police motorcyclists are often there trying to get somewhere really, really quick, but in hindsight you don't need to. So honestly, no, I don't think you should do beyond the speed limit. A lot of people are incapable of driving at such speed, so no. Hope that answers that one. So on to question 11 from Adam C. Have I ever seen a student that I've taught drive poorly? Yeah, I have. The one that springs to mind, to be honest, is my youngest lad, who has recently passed his test. He's actually a very good driver, and he's featured in some of the Learning Point clips where he's done an amazing job, to be honest. But I don't let up on any of my lads. The other morning, a few weeks ago, when he was still in school, Sort of like came off from the path and say whizzed around the corner, but went a little bit quick around the corner. So I give him a little bit of a chat about his driving and maintaining standards. So I do occasionally see pupils that I've taught driving poorly, but generally they're even people who live in the estate where I am now. I've taught loads of people, and honestly very few come round the corner too quick. They've all got good qualities and good skills as drivers, so hopefully they keep doing that into future. Okay, next question from George Hawker, number 12. What is the most mistakes people make when learning to drive? If you've seen any of Erin's lessons, and Erin isn't on her own on this, it's observational stuff. The number one fail for driving tests for years and years and years has always been observational stuff, so if you can improve on anything, that would be it. The next question is from Paul, and it's number 13. Are driving instructors required to take a retest every couple of years? It's not actually a retest that they take, but it does follow the same format as the qualifying process. So what you have to do to pass the test to become a driving instructor, there's 3 parts initially, but the third part, the final part, is a teaching test where you are observed conducting a lesson, and that's exactly the same as you have to do every 2 to 4 years as a driving instructor to continue being on the driving instructor register to prove you're still doing a good job. Question number 14 from temporary name. I was going to ask this before Erin started driving an automatic. How often, if at all, do I recommend a student drives an auto rather than a manual, and do many struggle with the gears in a manual? A few people do struggle with the gears, if I was honest. Very rarely have I ever said to anyone, no, this isn't for you. I do tell people honestly though, if they are struggling with the gears, and I tell them from a financial and a time perspective. So in other words, I might say, listen, you're not finding this easy. It might be a little bit of an easier job if you try an automatic, and I give them the option. Sometimes I do the same as I did with Erin. I just give them one lesson in automatic, and a lot of the time they go, you know what, it is easier. We are all going to be ending up driving automatics, so I honestly don't know what the stigma still is about automatics. Rolls-Royce and Bentley only make automatics, so I think that says it all. With electric cars aren't going to have gearboxes, or not as what we know as gearboxes, because of how electric motors work and spin and produce their power. So automatics are going to be the future, so get used to it, everyone. The next question was 15 from Johnny Pilkington. As a fellow Scouser, how do you feel about the condition of Queen's Drive? Now, I'll explain to everyone. Queen's Drive is Liverpool's ring road, not the motorway, but the main primary route ring road. It connects the north of Liverpool to the south of Liverpool, and it goes round in an arc. It's honestly not too bad, Johnny, to be honest. I've seen it worse. There are other roads at other sections and parts of Liverpool which are well worse. What's everyone's roads like where they are? Have they deteriorated over the last number of years? Have you found the potholes getting bigger and more and less well maintained? Let us know in the comments. But Johnny, now Queen's Drive, it's not too bad at the moment. I was going to say at the moment, I haven't driven for about 5 or 6 weeks, but before that wasn't too bad. Okay, the next question is number 16. Let's have a little look. Do you think I need to change an instructor who's always before the lesson asking what I want to learn? I'm honest, as always. Answer to this situation is probably no. The driving instructor is doing things in the correct way. They should be trying to gauge for what's best for the pupil, and that often comes from the pupil themselves and should come from the pupils themselves. So you should have lessons really related to what you were doing last time. So at the start of any particular lesson, the driving instructor should really go through what you did last time, your strengths and weaknesses, and then formulate a plan between the both of you on what should be going on today, as long as that's not going to be too risky. If you're a novice, I want to go on a motorway, that ain't going to happen, or it shouldn't happen. So honestly, no, it doesn't sound as though your instructor's doing much wrong at all. Okay, let's get on to the next question. Number 17. Have I ever driven abroad, and if so, where? I've driven all around. I've driven in the States, I've driven all around Europe. No issues. There's a little mindset change when you start, as soon as you get in the car, of where should it be, which side of the road. But judgment wise, I'm usually pretty good, because I do spend a lot of time sat in that left hand seat. The pedals, people think that they're all going to be swapped round. They're not. They're the same layout. CBA from left to right, or can't be arsed, as I always teach my students. The gears are always in the same position, so it's not totally flipped, although you sat on the other side of the car, so it's not actually that difficult to drive a left-hand drive vehicle. The mindset of driving in a different country, you know what is quite say off-putting, but it's quite fun for me. Roundabouts, when you start going around the other way. But no problems really driving abroad. What about you? Have you found any difficulties driving abroad? Again, let us know in the comments. Let's go on to number 18 from James Fuller. How do pupils find driving a 3 Series size more than anything? A 3 Series BMW is only about, I think, a couple of inches wider, if anything, than the 1 Series. So width wise, it makes no difference. Length wise, it is a little longer. I couldn't tell you exactly how much, but it is a little longer. I don't think it's a lot, because I still reverse this car up my path to where we're positioned at the minute, and honestly it's not stuck out really any further on my, or towards my neighbour's driveway than when I had the 1 Series. So size wise, I don't think any of them found any problems. The seating position, as I explained initially when I did the first little sort of like video on the car, the seating position is brilliant. The seat goes all the way up, all the way down, and you seem to be sat higher in this car than you did in the 1 Series. So pupils have not had an issue with driving the 3 Series. Question 19 from Artem. Do I think roads will become safer when level 5 self-driving cars come to play? Level 5 means you tap a button and the car does everything for you. I'm going to answer that bit first before we go on to the second part of his question. Yes is the simple answer. I think things will be safer, because it takes that impulsiveness and human decision making out of it. I think generally the accidents and the problems that are caused on the road are by this thing, people's brains, and how they act, and that sort of like gets taken, well, sort of, it definitely gets taken out when we get this autonomy. I can't see it happening for many years though. I really can't. I still think we've got at least 15 years before things are going to start going totally autonomous, where you tap a button and the car comes and picks you up and takes you to where you want to go. I did nearly buy a Tesla Model 3. I love the technology. I love the idea of electricity to power cars, and the eco side of things as well, and I like how they drive. It was just too much for me. If you're interested in the Model 3 and how it works, check out Jack Massey Welsh. Jack Sucks at Life is his main channel, but honestly the stuff that he does with his Model 3 that he's bought is absolutely brilliant, and he's technically on the button with a lot of things as well. So if you're interested in that, have a little look. But second part of the question is, why are seat belts in the back still so uncommonly used, and should manufacturers make it so cars beep when the back passengers are unbelted just like in the front? I don't know whether we can see in my car. We can't, but there is a place where, I can't remember where it is. Where is it? Is it on the dashboard? Yeah, I think it's on the dashboard, where it does actually come up with who's in the back, or if there's someone in the back, it shows whether they have their seatbelt on. So I don't actually think that's the case. I can't actually think of a car that beeps if people are unbelted in the back, though. That could be an idea. Let us know if anyone knows of a car where there is an audible warning if people in the back seats don't wear the seatbelts. I'm sure there's got to be nowadays. Right, question number 20 from Tyler. Do I give students poor mock results to boost motivation? Example, if they did pass a mock test, would you still give them a fail? No, I would not give them a fail. I would not fail them on purpose. I do tend to find that I mark a little harder than the examiners mark, and I think that's important to push people that little bit higher. You can, if you want to make it difficult, you can always go at a particular tough place, or give them the things that they are a little weak at, or maybe even drive at a busier time. There are always things that can test your pupil and push your pupil. Confidence is a big thing as well, but sometimes there needs to be a reality check. Sometimes you get people in the car who think that they are God's gift to driving, and they're absolutely awful, and they're forever saying, I want to book my test, I want to book my test. Sometimes you just have to be pretty ruthless with them, give them a route, say nothing, and show them exactly kind of things they've got to improve with first of all. But I wouldn't be nasty on purpose, no. Realistic, they're paying you for a service, so you've got to give them a good service. Hope that answers that. Right, next question from the Twin Rose, number 21. How do I feel about bikers? What bikers? Cyclists. I'm a cyclist. Motorbikes. I'm a motorcyclist as well, although I haven't got a motorbike. I think they've got as much right on the road as anyone else, and the sooner car drivers start treating them in that way, the better. That's it, really. Don't think you can say anything more about that. Question 22 from Joseph. What automatic car do I use? For teaching, we've got the Mercedes A-Class. It's the 180D automatic. Lovely, lovely car. It's got the little 1.5 Renault engine. Don't know whether people realise it's got the Renault 1.5 diesel engine. Very economical. It's a little bit what I call chattery, diesel chatter. It's not really smooth or smooth sounding, but the car itself is nicely equipped. It's got a reversing camera, it's got leather seats. It was fairly reasonable to buy as well, to be honest. It wasn't a hell of a lot of money. We bought it second hand. We've had it maybe 6 months or so. Cracking thing. The only thing I've had go wrong with it was one of the glow plugs. Needed replacing, but it wasn't even an expensive fix. So that's the automatic car that we use for lessons. My Mrs. M3 is an automatic, and we use that as well. Well, when I'm allowed. Next question from Elliot. Question 23. Rules for buying a first car. I've got to go with my first thought, which is economics. The economic side of things of buying a first car is really, really important. You have to be able to afford it. Sorry, just saying hello to my neighbours. You have to be sensible when you're buying your first car. people don't realise until they get a car how expensive they can be. The insurance, the fuel, the maintenance, even tyres. A tyre for this car, for example, I had one with a puncture right in the sidewall not long after I bought it, and it was £190. So people don't realise the expense of cars. I would go with something as reliable as you can. Look at the people's reviews, look at ease of fix, but it's got to be affordable. That's got to be your first rule. Hope that answers that for you. Okay, number 24, how tall am I? I answered this the other day. I'm sure it's the same guy as well, to be honest. I'm a little bit over 6'1", 187 centimeters tall, and shrinking because I'm getting older. Okay, question 25, we've got to the end, and this is from Saul. Am I concerned about the security of my job? I'll start again. Am I concerned about the security of my job as self-driving cars become more widely available in the future? I've sort of touched on this already, because I think it's going to be about 15 years. What's going to happen when we do get autonomy in the car? Is it going to be similar to the planes, where you still need a pilot? Those planes can virtually take off and land of their own accord, but you still need a pilot to take control. Is it going to be the same with cars? No, I don't think so eventually. But I'm 45, 15 years, 60. Am I going to be doing it beyond that? I doubt it. So will it affect me? I don't think so, but will it affect people in the long run? It might. So we've come to the end of the questions. I've had a couple of breaks because blasted camera. I've had to cover it with a cloth. I'm just going to twist this round. I had to cover it with a cloth to stop it overheating. It's overheated a couple of times, but we've whizzed through those questions. I didn't get much time to prep, as I said at the start, with those questions, but I think that's the best way. If I'd have prepped loads of answers, you're not really hearing the real me. So they're my honest answers. I enjoyed doing that, to be honest. Maybe we'll do that again. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are there any other questions that you'd maybe like to put towards me for next time? In the meantime, keep safe everyone, keep indoors. Probably it's not going to be long before we're back out again and we can maybe start enjoying driving. But keep safe everyone, take care, see you all soon.